In this episode, 5 exercises that are my absolute favorites that you can implement in almost every single workout. I promise it'll help you get huge and muscular. You look fantastic, you look beautiful, and everybody will love you.
The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, the bacon is sizzling. Welcome to the Daily Swole.
Testicles. Welcome everyone to episode 640 of the Daily Mother a Swole, the most muscular Swolecast, Beardcast, Broadcast, Gaincast, Livecast, Mancast, Nipplecast, and Coffeecast in the realm. Because when I flex, you flex, we all flex our biceps, and no matter what you might wish for in this world, my biceps are larger than yours. What up? Because I'm an asshole. And maybe yours are bigger than mine, and that's fine. I encourage that. But welcome to episode 630. Welcome live on Facebook and live also on Instagram. And thank you for watching on YouTube, those of you that pick it up on the tube. And also a shout out to the SoundCloud and Apple Podcast, the podcast crew. So a silent clap for the podcasters. Welcome. We'll be doing some Q&A at the end. That's probably going to go long on the podcast front, so podcast listeners get the extra bonus footage, and that's how we're going to roll it today, so we can go a little bit longer on the podcast and the live cast. So today's episode, welcome fam, welcome, come on in. Hello, happy Friday. That's right, it is Flex Friday. Looking good, the beard's looking good. No coffee in the beard, we can start. No coffee in the beard, that's a positive. So when you ask questions, fam, make sure you drop them in, and I'll get to them as soon as I can. We'll take them throughout the show and at the end of the show. So today's episode, because it's a Flex Friday, are 5 exercises that are my faves, or some of my favorites, because I have a lot of favorites. And of course, every exercise has its application. So there's always a place for certain exercises. And one of the dangerous things about training is to get favorites and to do things based on what you're used to and what you like rather than what's best for your body. And a lot of times we get off the track, we get off pace with that. We start doing what we think is cool, we start doing what we think is fun, and we lose track of, oh, is this going to help me get to my goal? So am I just doing general exercise? Am I just doing a group exercise class, or am I just randomly going to run and then do 20 air squats, then do 100 push-ups, and then run 6 miles, and then do 40 snatches and do some kind of CrossFit workout? Like, what am I doing? What are you doing? What are you doing that's tactical? And I want to go over a couple exercises that are very tactical, that could be used in warm-ups, that could be used in strength training, that could be used in balance, that could be used in core activation. A couple things that are very important based on what most of you are looking for when you message me and when you ask me about fitness and you ask me about your training. Because if you have back pain or you have instability issues, or you need to activate your glutes, or certain things that you should be doing that you can be implementing. And a lot of this doesn't require a lot of equipment, if any, at all. Keep doing what you're doing, bearded bro. I sure will, Juan, on Instagram. How can I grow a beard if I only have the chin hair? Well, beard has chin hair as well. It's just hair everywhere. So just keep growing. Don't shave. Don't shave. That's the best advice I can give you. If you want to grow a beard, you don't shave. That's just Papa Solio for Prez. Should I run for president? Gains in 2020? Should I run on the Gains platform, on the huge platform? Just literally the huge platform. That would be my political platform. It's just a massive, massive platform. It's just huge, and it has like beef all over it. Just a huge platform. Feeling good Friday. What's up, Eric Dean? Billy Hooper. He's a swole man. I'm a truck driver school, so I got a jet. Keep the swole, brother. Will do. Thanks for dipping in. And I get it. I understand a lot of you are working, or a lot of you are busy. So even if you could jump in and just say hi and then come back and catch the podcast or watch the replay later, that's totally cool. I get a lot of you can't be here live with us, but those of you that can make it live, you get the bonus of asking questions. And, sometimes you could even drop a question, then dip, and then check it out later and see if I can get to it. So Vince, then the President Award for kids might mean something again then. Well, yeah. Yeah, those things don't really hold too much value nowadays, do they? Got the coffee. Wiped off the beard. All right, well, let's get into this. Let's drop some comments below when we go through. Oh, Tommy, I heard The Rock is running. I think he will. I actually think he will. You know what's funny? Did you guys watch that Driving While Gaining I did about Rock Johnson for president like a year or 2 years ago? Yeah. I have a feeling he will run. And if he does run, he will win. I don't doubt it. Social media is that popular, is that powerful. And you know what? Who knows? He might not even be that bad. He's pretty much running for president already. He's just running for his own office. Like, he's just doing his own thing. I wonder. I could see him doing it. I could easily see him winning. 2 weeks into the elimination diet, Tibor, feeling great. 2 weeks in, hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah, that elimination diet's no joke. All right, so let's go over these exercises. I got a couple written down that I want to go over that I wanted to make sure that I went over. And the first one is the single leg squat. The single leg squat. Now, the single leg squat is not the same as a pistol squat. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a glute activation exercise. So, glute activation is important for all your activities, especially when you're doing lower body exercises. So, you might have seen my exercise video that I did here on Instagram and on Facebook where I did the lateral tube walking where I had the band around my ankles. That's another one that's similar to the single leg squat in the sense that it'll activate the hips. So before a leg day, before a leg workout, you want to be activating the hips. Okay, so first one is going to be a hip activation. And what is often lost in training and in programming is that activation warm up. So people go on a cardio machine or just start squatting, but they don't turn on the individual muscles. So just like corrective exercise would activate a muscle that needs to work specifically, that type of activation is important also before a workout. So before a leg day, you want to make sure you're activating the glutes so the glutes are firing during your squats and during your lunges. It just makes sense. The second exercise is a plank. A plank is another core exercise, and this attaches the base of your core and the pelvis all the way up to the cervical spine and to the upper body with the arm positioning with the planks. Most people do planks incorrectly. Their hips are too high, their hips are dropped. But the most important concept when you're doing an actual plank is to make sure your shoulder blades are pulled back and down, you're not protracting your shoulders, and your stomach and your hips are sucked and tucked. So you're actually actively drawing in your belly button and you're squeezing your glutes and posteriorly tucking your pelvis. So you're that invisible bucket of water that is your pelvis. You're pouring water out the back end. So you're tucking your invisible tail. And that posterior tilt is going to activate those core stabilizers when you do your plank. And planks are great at the end of a workout. They're great during, and they're also great at the beginning. So don't underestimate the power of doing a plank first thing in your workout. That way you can activate those core stabilizer muscles. So remember, keep on answering or keep on dropping your questions. We'll have some more discussion through this episode and also at the end. So I'm seeing a couple people drop questions and poke in. So this is a fitness episode because it is Flex Friday, fam. It's Flex Friday. So we got to do something with the pump. We got to talk about things that we pump. You know, we have to talk about building muscles today. Yeah. So at least float some hearts and say what's up. Don't be quiet over there on Instagram. I don't want to see people joining and leaving. At least say what's up. You know, say hi to the beard at least. The third one is going to be a variation of a deadlift. So you could do a single leg deadlift. You could do a Romanian deadlift. You could do a classic deadlift. Deadlifts are great with dumbbells. They're great with barbells. Deadlift is a total body exercise. And this could be great for those of you that might be limited on time, how many times a week you can work out, the time that you can spend in the gym. You also might have limited equipment at home. So you don't need a lot of equipment. You don't need to get fancy to get in shape. Some of my biggest gains in building muscle has been in situations where I only had access to a barbell and a basic bench and like a squat rack. And it was at home and it was in my basement. And I got huge that summer because I did the basics. I did pull-ups, I did rows, I did deadlifts, I did bench. It was just the basic. And basics work. Basics work. Most people don't do. Most people don't do the basics well enough. And I want you to equate this to your nutrition and to your fitness and to everything that you're doing. Most people are looking for the next level, the next complicated thing, the next level of fitness. They're trying to always one up or level up. But that's not the case. That's not how this fucking works. Most of you aren't mastering and aren't doing the basic things well enough. And you're thinking too high end. You're thinking too fancy. You're thinking too complicated and too next level before you even have built that base. You haven't earned it yet. You haven't earned it yet. The fourth one that I wanted to put out there is deep squat mobility. Deep squat mobility. Now, I've talked about this before, and I've done this in my Swolenormous X community as well when we talk about mobility exercises. The basic deep squat with the heels flat, it's a yogi squat. It is one of the best things that you can do to improve your hip and your ankle mobility. Now, this can be challenging for a lot of you. And we've gone over this when I've discussed high heels and footwear. It's going to be very challenging for a lot of you to do a deep squat. And I want you to do the deep squat with your toes slightly turned out to the side, but your feet aren't collapsing. Your knees are wide. Your knees can go over your feet and the whole thing, but you need to be flat-footed or as flat-footed as you can, and you squat down as deep as you can and you hold it. So you're technically like an Indian around a campfire. And that's a very natural way of sitting. It's actually the natural way to go to the bathroom, for example, because it aligns your colon and it allows you to easily defecate. This is a natural thing for the human body to do a deep squat. And most of you probably couldn't even can't even get into a deep squat. Most of you probably can't even get into a deep squat. And that's a basic function. And it's one of the best things you could do for your knees and for your hips. So I encourage you to practice a deep squat. Go as low as you can, hold it as long as you can. You could either have your hands together and push your knees out gently with your elbows. And if you can't get all the way down or you can't get into a deep enough squat with your heels flat, until you gain that mobility, put a little towel under your heels and hold that deep squat and just hold it and try to keep your back as flat as you can and just hold it. Rock around in a circle, but keep that deep squat. A lot of times when you were all messaging me on Instagram and Facebook, I'll answer those messages from a deep squat. And I use that reply action and the interaction I have with the community and all the answers and all the feedback I'm giving all the time with the messages and how plugged in I am. And I use that as a chance to do mobility. I'll do a deep squat and I'll answer some questions. So yeah, like the squatty potty. Yeah, Tom, like the squatty potty. We could talk about the squatty potty, but that shit works. Get it? That shit works. Yeah, it does. It does. So a deep squat, and you can hold it for a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Just hold it for as long as you can. Try to do a deep squat as many times as you can throughout the day. And try to use that maybe as a moment when you're answering a text message or an email. Get down into a deep squat and just hold it. And it'll do wonders for your back, for your hips, and for your knees. So if you have knee issues, a lot of times it's because you're not using the full range of motion of your body and your muscles are very tight around your hips. And the fifth one is similar to the deep squat. It's the dead hang. So those of you that have a pull-up bar, those of you that have a pull-up bar in your doorway, those who have access to a full hang pull-up bar where you could hang with your legs straight is even better. And all you do is you go up, you grab the bar, and you hang. You literally let your scapula roll up, and you just grip and you hang. It's fantastic for your shoulders. It allows gravity to straighten you out. It's a great way to rehabilitate the shoulders. It's a great way to open up the shoulder sockets, the shoulder joints, the scapula, allow the scapula to upwardly rotate. So if those are getting locked up, it can help mobilize those. So a dead hang is fantastic, just like a gorilla, just like a monkey. So if you have one of those pull-up bars, if you have to bend your knees because you have one like one of those total gyms in your doorway, it's not the same, but it's better than nothing. Just let your toes touch the ground, let your legs hang as limp as possible, and just literally grab the bar and hang. Just arms straight, grab about shoulder width, maybe a little bit wider. You don't have to go super wide. You don't have to go super close. You could try different positions, neutral grip, pronated grip, but just do a dead hang, and that's amazing. It's amazing for the shoulders. There's some top orthopedic surgeons that have their patients do that as part of the rehabilitation for like rotator cuff surgery and stuff. But you can always just refer to your doctor. I'm not telling anyone that has an issue to go do that, but look it up, research it. Dead hangs are amazing. Dead hangs are amazing. So literally just hang, arms straight and just hang, and try to do that for as long as you can. Try to do that for 20 seconds. Try to do that for a minute. Try to do that for 2 minutes and do it a couple times a day. Like every time you walk past it, do a 30-second or a minute hold, and then just see how you feel and how your upper back feels. Every time I do that, I crack my back. I just hang, it just zone out, and it feels amazing. It feels absolutely amazing. So those are my big five, and we can talk about each one of those in a little bit more detail. We're definitely going to go longer with the Q&A. I'm going to stay live a little bit longer than those of you that are watching the HD video on YouTube and Facebook. So those of you that are interested in catching a little bit more of the content, just make sure you plug into either the live cast or you plug into the podcast on SoundCloud and iTunes to make sure you get all the audio, because we'll run this a little bit longer, possibly on the actual podcast. So let's take some questions. I think those are 5 really good ones to go over. Those are 5 really great starters and starting exercises to get the ball rolling. Of course, it's hard to say your favorite or the most important ones, but those are 5 major ones. Those are 5 major things, major motions, major undertakings that you can do in the gym that are great for warm-ups, that are great for mobility, that are great for a like a standard in your training. That's in some respect. Let's see here. Tiny Fury. Dead hangs for days. As climbers, we use fingerboards and dead hang to gain finger strength. That's totally different. The finger strength is totally different, but a dead hang for the shoulder, just like gripping. But yeah, for climbers, obviously, doing dead hangs is super important. But for the general fitness, obviously, finger strength is not going to be as important as for the specific activities for climbing. But just grabbing that bar and hanging straight. But it's similar. It's similar. So if you're trying to improve, it's just as great for climbers, just to open up the shoulder joint. But yeah, I know climbers use those little thin boards or the ledge over the door frame, and you're just holding for finger strength. But those that just have pull-up bars and just straight bars, just dead, just hang for the shoulder, just hold, and just let your arms completely straight. It's awesome. I will totally try, Papa. Yes, you do that. You do that. Nice to meet you. Well, you're seeing me, so we're not technically meeting, but I get you. I know what you're saying. Nice to meet you. Nice to see your face, Papa Swole. Nice to see your face. Let's see what we got here. Eric Dean, I'll have to leave my bar up to do hangs. Maybe can even do them with the barbell on my rack. You could do that as long as you're hanging from a bar. It doesn't matter. It's just always better if your legs can completely hang straight, but those of you that are doing for example, if you're doing them in your house, obviously, if you hang them from your door, one of those like total gyms that hooks over the door frame, you're not going to be able to hang with your legs completely straight unless you're a really small person. Like really small, like a child. I don't even know if like a 5-foot woman could hang there without touching the ground. But yes, would that help my impinged shoulder? I can't prescribe it and say that it will help an impinged shoulder, but it could. It could. You should be doing some other yoga and corrective exercises too, but a dead hang is usually good for all aspects of the shoulder, because when you allow the scapula and you allow gravity to straighten out the body, it'll open up a lot of those, it'll open up a lot of the spacing in the shoulder. A lot of times what happens with impingements and friction and inflammation in the shoulder is that improper postures misalign the shoulder joint and its interaction with the shoulder girdle and the scapula and the acromion process, the tip of the clavicle and the scapula. And that type of interaction or that mistiming starts causing inflammation. So the gaps in the spacing of the joint in the shoulder and where the tendons slide through becomes more irritated and more friction, because there's less space and there's misalignment, and then you get inflammation, then you get more rubbing and more pain, and that could be a detriment in itself. So that can all easily cause an impinged shoulder. So it depends on what's causing that. What are your thoughts on sissy squats? I don't like to talk about sissy squats because I don't know what people think sissy squats are. So I don't answer that, because there's several ways to do them. I've seen people do them on hack squats. I've seen people do them with those little ankle locking pads, those little apparatuses. So I've seen people do them different ways, holding a bar. I've seen people just do them so many ways. I don't think there's any wrong way. I think, just to clarify, for any movement, I don't think there's any bad movement that the human body can do. We don't really know that much about movement. We're always moving. Our blood's always moving. Everything's always in motion. but I think we put too much. This is the right way to move. This is the wrong way to move. But seriously, if the human body can move in any direction, if the human body can move in a direction, who's to say that's a wrong way to move? So we learn things, and of course, when you're lifting loads and you're doing a deadlift or an overhead press or a snatch or one of these exercises, yeah, you want certain alignments that are going to lock the joints in certain positions that are going to be optimal for strength. They're going to put the body in least risk and create the most power. But we're still learning a lot about movement. I think we put too much stock in our own understanding of our own bodies and movement. So some of these things that seem the reason why they're getting popular again today, like kettlebells, for example, right? We think we know so much about movement and health and fitness. Kettlebells disappeared pretty much for like the 80s and 90s. Like they're just coming back. They're just coming back and getting popular again. And kettlebells were created or invented like 100 years ago, and they just kind of stayed in like Russian basements, and they were old school way of training, and they were archaic, and all of a sudden they come back around, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, kettlebells, functional training, man. Yeah. Like I really think we always know, right? It's the human ego. We always know what's best. So there's a lot of things that come back that we realize, wow, these are really great. So what we know now might not be what we're promoting and talking a lot about tomorrow. And there could be something else that's an old school thing. And I really do think that people are trying to dig these things up. They're going back into old encyclopedias and old pictures and saying, how could I reinvent that and make that popular today? Because people love old school stuff. But kettlebells are great. Sissy squats are great. The variations that I've done, I've liked. But there's really not a lot of improper movement as long as you have minimal compensations and minimal impairments. If you don't have hip imbalances, if you don't have knee problems, if you have mobility, if you have elasticity and plasticity of the joints and of the soft tissues, if you have those things, you're going to have less risk of pulling, of tears, of inflammation. You're going to have less risk of these problems. And if you have tightness in the hips, if you're sedentary, if you're an accountant and you're sitting down all the time, and all of a sudden you go to do sissy squats, you can hurt yourself because you're tight, because you're not balanced. So don't underestimate the impact and the importance of having everything be balanced in the body. Let's see. We got any stuff on Instagram here? First time catching the live stream. What's going on? Yes, he has a keto video on YouTube. I have a lot of keto videos. Remember, everyone, if you're looking to search my YouTube and you want to find an episode, don't ask me because I'm not going to remember what number something was. I go on YouTube and I search myself. So all the keywords and stuff are plugged into YouTube. So when you search Swolenormous, just type in the top search bar, Swolenormous, and then your keyword. So type in Swolenormous space ketosis or Swolenormous space bench press or whatever it is. And there'll be an episode, chances are, on that topic because I have the keywords for those episodes. So it's the best place to search. And we'll come back and we'll do more episodes. We'll do more episodes on ketosis and we'll talk about this stuff in different lights, and we'll bring some other research into the picture. Weston Wayne on Instagram, suggestions for correcting a tight neck. Yeah, are you stretching it at all? Are you doing any kind of warm up? Are you doing yoga? Are you practicing yoga and mobility? Yoga is fantastic. I really enjoy directing people to yoga because a lot of times a tight neck is not coming from the neck. And a lot of tightness, a lot of imbalances, and especially with posture, it doesn't come from the location where you feel it. You can have back pain, it could come from your left ankle. You could have neck pain and it comes from your lower back because your lower back is locked up and stiff, which locks up your thoracic spine, which tightens up your upper body movement, which locks you into a hunch position, which puts stress on your neck. And then your neck is getting achy because it's overworking. So then you have neck tightness and you feel like your neck needs to be loosened up. But what really has to happen is your hips need to be mobilized. So I usually like directing people to yoga because yoga will integrate everything and it will loosen everything on a global scale. That way you're not just focusing on where the feeling is. There's a lot of things with the human body that are called referral pains and referral points of discomfort where you'll feel the pain in your arm, but it's not coming from your arm, it's coming from your shoulder, your rotator cuff, because your body sends signals down the nerve tissue, and sometimes where you feel the pain isn't where the pain is coming from. It's called a pain referral. So you might feel pain down the side of your arm, but it's really your rotator cuff, your supraspinatus, for example, that could be torn, but it's throbbing down the side of your bicep and your forearm. And you think, oh my God, my arm hurts. Why does my arm hurt? It's coming from higher up. So there's a lot of instances where your body will send pain referrals, and you'll have issues relating to that. So we're going to continue to take some more questions. So stay live. Going to keep this train going. Just going to wrap up the main part of the show, and we'll continue to take some more Q&A. So thank you, everyone that's watching on YouTube. That just got the phone call. Interrupted the live cast a little bit. We're still good on Facebook? I think we're still good. So thank you so much for watching on YouTube, watching on Facebook, and watching live here on Facebook and Instagram. We're going to keep this going for a little bit longer. Tomorrow, episode 631, I'm going to continue the fucking gain train. So it's Saturday, and really steamrolling all this nutrition and fitness knowledge, just dropping nukes all over your faces, just absolutely just destroying your ear holes and your eye holes and your faces. And I hope everyone that's watching this is just growing amazing beards just by viewing mine. Wouldn't it be great? You just watch this show and just get larger and grow a beard just by watching, just by participating. Wouldn't that be nice? So every day, fam, live at 12 noon Eastern time, live on Instagram and live on Facebook. And you can catch all the episodes on YouTube and the HD video also on Facebook later on. And remember, check out my Instagram stories and Snapchat so I can update you when the podcast drops. Because once I get that podcast up there, I blast it because a lot of you listen to that. A lot of you are messaging me, telling me that you are eating these things up on your commutes, when you're doing cardio at the gym, when you're running, when you're cycling, when you're walking the dog, shoveling snow. I'm getting a lot of messages from you when you listen to the podcast. So I think it's great content. I'm going to take some more questions and keep the audio rolling. So those of you that are watching on YouTube or the HD on Facebook, peace, McGeese, deuce, Magoose, Papa Swolio, out.